Go! Mango! Speciale!
Hey guys, and welcome to a brand new Go Mango special. On today's show, we'll be reviewing the new Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man Homecoming, and I'm your host, the Cinder Blaze, and with me today we have...
Strange Words.
And Makotoa.
Hey guys, welcome back. Or, it's a Go Mango special, it's not really a welcome back,
Yeah.
but let's just
Welcome
jump
back
right
to our
into it.
very first special. Yeah.
No.
Totally did. No.
Well, it's been a long time. Let's just jump right into this movie. It's a brand new Spider-Man trilogy, and they didn't start off with like the tragic backstory and whatnot. We just jump right into some Spidey action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
It's supposed to be
already
like
been...
a yeah, it's
Because he
It's
already
already
had
been,
a
like,
setup
action.
elsewhere. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I like how the start of the movie just... Okay, is this a spoiler review, or how are we gonna...
It's a
I
definitely a
think
spoiler
we're
review.
doing a super spoiler review, so I guess we'll say it now. Anyone who's watching is just like wanting to see some sort of review without spoilers, leave now. For those who actually want to hear the spoilers, just stay and listen, because we're going to be super duper spoilery cast.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
As we're
Okay,
saying.
so as I was saying, movie starts with, like, sort of flashbacks to... What was it, like the original Avengers movie, actually, where... or at least the events thereafter, where there's like a construction like crew who's trying to clean up all the alien debris, and then they get kind of sideswiped. I don't know, like the government swoops in and like takes their job and says, "Oh, we're gonna take care of this," and it was just cool seeing how, you know, oh, this is a different thing going on chronologically at the same time. You know, oh, this is where we're seeing these other weapons by new villains come in. And it's like, it made the villains, like, weapons or suit or flying contraption more believably, like, durable, in my opinion, because of how it was supposed to be, like, you know, made from alien materials and stuff. So I was able to, like, suspend my disbelief more when, like, he was just... His like, flying suit just was, like, running into walls and crashing into things. That it wasn't just completely destroyed by getting that happen to it, I guess.
Yeah, like, honestly, even if it was like regular steel, I feel like in the moment I wouldn't really mind those moments.
Mhm.
But they did take that, you know, special care to be like, oh yeah, this is really strong material. So
Yeah.
when he builds a weapon out of it or an exoskeleton out of it, it's kind of lethal.
Yeah. So...
Yeah. How'd you feel about, like, that whole intro scene, Jordan? Or, like
Which
this
intro
movie's
scene?
placement in, like, the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Okay, I felt like... Here's the thing. Like, they already introduced the Spider-Man through a different method, which was... Like, okay, guys, you know what Spider-Man's deal is? We don't need to go through the whole he got bitten by a radioactive spider and whatnot bit. So they kind of just like, okay, Spider-Man exists elsewhere. Like, he already did his, like, radioactive spider thing and whatnot. So now he's here. So we can just skip, like... Because, like, some of the... Like, I liked one of these Spider-Mans where he got bitten by a radioactive spider and it's just like, oh, man, cool DNA stuff. I'm like, okay, cool, neat.
Yeah.
And then he gets the transformation next time. I'm just like, okay, yeah, I've seen it. But now that I've seen it a few times, it's like, you know what? I'm okay with, you know, skipping past it. Because people know what Spider-Man's like at this point.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it probably goes along with, like, the superhero fatigue that, you know, a lot of these movies are getting criticism for. And this tried to take a more refreshing, you know, spin on that. It didn't really follow the stereotypical formula that a lot of these heroes went by for their first movies, like thinking like Ant-Man, Thor, a lot of the ones that came, you know, a little bit later. This one just felt like it was a different start, you know, because it's like we've already been introduced, but we technically haven't. We just jumped right into it.
It's not as much of an origin story because it's not the origin of how he became Spider-Man as his powers, but at the same time it is an origin story because it is like, you know, how he became responsible.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, the real Spider-Man. Like he was already slinging webs for a while in his makeshift suit, and then he got his upgrade. But like I love the whole dynamic with Tony Stark being kind of this mentor figure to him, and then like
Mentor slash father figure.
yeah, that's right,
Yeah.
that's right.
Or attempted father figure because he's
Yeah.
really bad at it.
I still like they used Tony sparingly through this movie, but I think it was good still. Like I enjoyed his moments, and he didn't have to be there as much because it was really supposed to be about Spider-Man in the first place, and I'm glad that we really focused in on him. And I'm also glad that we kept him in high school and that he looks like a high school student, unlike possibly some of the other Spider-Man renditions, because at some points, I don't know, Tobey Maguire didn't really look like he was 18 in those movies.
Yeah,
Hey,
like
man, he's just a very mature 8-year-old. That's all.
You know, but I really like that he's still in high school, and he's probably going to still be in high school, and I think that really is a good representation of what Spider-Man was supposed to be like. You know, he's still a kid, he's still going through daily life.
That also depends on version of Spider-Man because there's a lot of things going on in the Spider-Man universe. I'll just say that much.
I'm just going with like original stuff.
Yeah, I
Like,
guess.
you know, but
yeah.
what do you guys think about his best friend character?
Okay, here's the thing. I really like the well-rounded ethnic
You're an ass.
nerd friend.
Well rounded. I thought you were really talking about like his personality. I'm like, what?
Also just generally friendly guy. I'm just like, yeah, I liked him.
He made for a really believable best friend.
Yeah,
Like-
it's like this is. I could see that being freaking Peter Parker's best friend. It's like, yeah, I see it.
Okay.
Yeah, like their chemistry was really natural together, and then he performed his comedy well. He hit those points when he needed to. Towards the end of the film, he was getting a bit annoying because he was taking like a bit too much screen time. I mean, that's like a small gripe, but it's just like his comedy kind of. We got used to it and it wasn't really as refreshing. It's just like, oh yeah, it's him again, gonna make that one quip. But for the majority of the film, like he did kind of work, you know, being his best friend side by side, just being with him that entire journey. And I felt like, wow, that's actually pretty cool because we didn't really get that with Harry or. Wait, we didn't really. Okay, we did get Harry in the second trilogy, but he was kind of trash.
Yeah, he wasn't really a friend throughout that movie, or any of the movies, really. I don't know, it never felt like they were really friends. It seemed like they were always at odds with each other to some degree. But...
Well, yeah, but like for the first trilogy, it was more like they were friends, but Harry was more involved with the plot, whereas in this one... Peter's best friend is more like he's just like with him, you know, just like with him with the journey and all that jazz.
Yeah, I didn't particularly like him too much. As I said before, after we were finished watching the movie together, he seemed like he was just a bad influence a lot of the time, and yeah, like I guess towards the end he was like, oh no, we shouldn't hack the suit, we shouldn't we shouldn't lie to Tony Stark, but, like, he was all for his own, like, oh, we're gonna be popular, we're gonna be famous, you should do this, you should tell everyone who you are, and all that stuff. It was just like, you are not coming up with the best, ideas here, and he needs somebody who could support him in a good way. But I guess, like, that was supposed to be the conflict of the movie, and that's, I mean, it just, like... His choices ended up causing problems and almost getting people killed, and then like he had to reconcile for that and show Tony Stark that he was capable of doing things on his own, which like
you kind of were talking about the best friend, and then you kind of just started talking about Peter all of a sudden, because like I'm like reconcile Tony Stark. I'm like, excuse me, I don't remember the best friend ever talking to Stark.
Well, no, I led that. I said that over time, throughout the plot, it was necessary to have, I guess, somebody who isn't the same, like, who isn't going to be feeding him the same lines as Tony, because Tony and the happy dude, whatever, is
Well, yeah, his name's
we're
Happy.
going to tell him, no, you shouldn't do this, no, you shouldn't do that. Even his own conscience was going to tell him those things for a while. So having his friend kind of be the opposite of that for a while, and then his
I mean, like the little devil on his shoulder while Tony and Happy are just trying to tell him like what he should be doing.
It kind of role reversed at one point, because like he needed to like them to trust. They needed Tony to trust him, and they didn't for a bit, or like at least he didn't feel that way. Happy definitely didn't. So he ended up having to put matters into his own hands, in which,
Nate.
Yeah.
Oh, that was his name.
Wow, you guys are terrible people. Anyways, like here's one thing I want to say in defense of Nate. He is a high schooler. Peter is a high schooler. High schoolers are not known for their being bastions of wisdom.
Yeah. All right.
So it is perfectly understandable that he would do that. In fact, it's more than understandable. In fact, Peter is the actually outstanding one for being able to be as wise as he is, despite having all these pressures about being a high schooler and being in love with a girl at the same time, and still being so well balanced, or decently well balanced in the middle of it. So I feel like it makes perfect sense. Like, I'm not going to like hate on him, just like, hey man, I don't understand. It's like, hey, for example, if you were friends with Tony Stark, would you not tell everyone ever?
If you weren't supposed to, that's the thing.
Yeah, if it's like
that'd be different. But
if it was a secret that you're supposed to keep, then no, you're not. Like, I wouldn't have.
But if you could low key go like, maybe I have a connection with Tony Stark, a lot of people would maybe go for that temptation. We're just like, I can get some connections with Mr. Billionaire, wealthy, suit wearing man over there. Yeah, I definitely would understand.
Yeah, and honestly, like Peter portrayed like the whole teenage, drama issues pretty realistically. Like most of the time, they're following, what is correct. They're doing, whatever they're told to do.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like he still has those urges, and then like the one moment it like slips, everything just falls apart. And then we did get to see that in this movie, and it was really like believable. Like whenever like Iron Man would be kind of like lecturing him, I feel like I can imagine myself having that conversation with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was really good about showing him becoming a proper hero, because like one of the best like quotes is I believe like Karen, the little suit AI, saying, "You did a really good job. You did it 98% correct, 98% correct," and then the ship starts falling apart. And it's just like he's almost getting there, but he doesn't quite have all that it needs to be a hero.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I really like seeing this, because of all the superhero movies we've seen, we don't really get to see like one well-established hero kind of like mentor another hero.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of seeing like the interaction between Tony and Peter. It really felt genuine, and that sometimes he did feel like a father figure towards him, because honestly, Peter has no one else to get that from. Like Uncle Ben is already done and dealt with. So
I actually kind of hope we get some Uncle Ben business maybe going on sometime, but later.
Yeah,
like maybe a flashback.
So
because that's like a super duper integral part to many, many Spider-Man comics.
Yep.
Yeah, but like in this universe,
We'll see.
Yeah, it kind of like states like the whole Marvel universe fan in me. So I'm kind of just like, Yeah, I like this version because I feel like this version of Spider-Man fits this universe, you know?
Oh, it does. Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
like besides, I guess the obvious Hawkeye and Black Widow, but they don't count because well, they are like completely human. Spider-Man is the most human feeling out of all the superheroes because all of them have like become like distant in their own ways from humanity. Like you can say like they're heroes, they're human-ish, but they're all like something that separates them due to the very nature of being the heroes that they are. While Spider-Man just like this kid is literally just going to high school still.
Yeah, like all of them are like fully devoted into their work, you know?
Yeah.
There was those moments where like he could have chosen like hanging out with the girl at her like there's a pool party thing
Yeah.
that she invited him to, or the prom that she was inviting him, or
Yeah.
he was supposed to go with her to, and like, and even the party where he could have like swooped in as Spider-Man. All three of those times, he chose to do the right thing and have take out the bad guy, right? So it still felt like a conflict though. Like
Yeah.
every time I was like, dang, that must suck to have to choose, and ended up like having this crazy twist where like now the girl. Should we talk about that by the way, or should we?
Well, we might
I
we can touch on it
almost,
now because we've. Well,
almost.
actually, go ahead. Go ahead.
I have like one more thing to say. Like, what you're saying, like his sense of like responsibility to like being a hero is like felt throughout the entire film, and it's like I just love that. And we didn't get the whole "with great power comes great responsibility" line, or at least I didn't like.
It wasn't there, but you could sort of feel like the tone of it.
Yeah, but like they didn't say it. That was the thing. Like kind of
Yeah.
like showed it. Every time he had a choice to make, like when he could have just showed up in the party and just like made that grand scene. Like you can almost see like the prize he would have gotten, like all that fame. He going to the dance with the girl. Like it's like almost there, but he's so close to attaining it, but he just pulls himself away from it. And I was like, wow, that takes a lot of strength, especially for a person that young. So like kudos to Peter Parker. I really like this version of his character.
Yeah.
Like actually, one last point. One of the most diligent and dedicated heroes, and one of the things that kind of struck home to me is like him like reporting to Happy every day was just like, yeah, I'm doing my job, still doing what you said, just let me be a hero because he just so badly wants to be one. And that was a really nice touch. Also, just mention the Chiro is just to show that he's still still a high schooler. Just like, oh, I also hope the lady got Chiros. I probably should have mentioned that.
Yeah, they did Peter Parker justice in this one for sure.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
we go touch on the
Well,
wonderful little.
actually, before we get to that part, let's
Uh-huh.
because there's another kind of key point where I think we should talk about just before we get to that, because chronologically. But
We are all over the place.
yeah,
I think we're just going by characters right now.
yeah.
Yeah, we can just
like
I want to mention, because we're talking about, you could kind of see the subtle undertone of the great responsibility thing in the movie, but I think that the louder and more prominent like moral that was throughout the story was what Tony said to Peter when he took the suit from him. That was the part where he's like, if you aren't Spider-Man without the suit, then you have no right to have the suit.
Well, here's the thing. That was Iron Man's moral of the story in
No,
one
because
of
like
the movies I can't
that
remember.
was the thing that like the end battle he had to like come to terms with, like when he was buried under the rubble, remember? Like he was starting to like ask for, or scream for help and stuff, because he was starting to panic underneath the rubble, like, and that was kind of the thing. You have to do this on your own. You can't just rely on the adults. You have to be an adult, like you said you were. You have to be ready, like you said you were.
Yeah, I mean, like, personally, it felt like that was a bit shoehorned in. Like, they just added that scenario and then just added that line right before. But, like, as Jordan said, that was more of an Iron Man thing, because, like, all that separates Tony from like the rest of the superheroes is like that suit. I mean, if you look at it from like the outside perspective, so his importance without the suit is actually really relevant. But Peter still has like the powers and all that stuff even without the suit. And I felt like his main like arc throughout the movie was more of like him growing up and accepting his responsibilities, and like the whole be like strong without your suit kind of tied into it. Like you have to be, self, like as you said, more self-sufficient, and you have to be able to do things by yourself and not just rely on help, and kind of like be 98% done with things.
Hey, there was a lot going on in this film. There was a lot of like, oh, you have to choose between your friends and school life and doing the right thing with justice. You have to also choose to like, be the responsible hero on your own without trying to rely too much on, what Tony has given him, I guess. I still think that it tied in well, in my opinion. That still worked for me really well.
Well, like here's what I see it as. Like, it wasn't like the scene itself was kind of put in there as a result of Tony giving his moral to Peter. Just like he's teaching from his own experience, and then Peter's learning from what Tony taught him and taking that lesson to heart. So it wasn't a huge focus, but it was sort of like it was also there to emphasize Tony's role as a teacher. Even though he's a very good father figure, he can still teach him because he's been through a lot on his own as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like that's how I see it.
It's just like the whole timing thing. It doesn't feel like it was an overarching thing, but like at that point in the story, that's the advice that he kind of like needed to just kick him.
That's true.
So he kind of like sorted his mind through it. It was like the thing that kind of like carried him through and like not like reach adulthood, but get closer to it. And like at the end of the movie, he was given the opportunity to become like a fully fledged Avenger, and kind of like step down and just like
well. That was also partially due to the fact that he thought it was a test, and it totally was. That's a joke.
That was funny.
Oh yeah. All right, so moving on from Peter, like temporarily, because I think we're gonna come back to him if we discuss other characters.
Yeah,
but I just want to get
sidekick kid. Oh wait, we can touch on him a bit later as well, because he had a nice scene that I want to talk about.
Yeah, I want to like knock out the minor characters right now.
Oh, never mind.
Mainly the academic decathlon people. Not like all of them, but like all of his friends are basically in that group. Let's start off with the love interest, because
oh right, I forgot she was part of that.
I mean,
she served her purpose, but I have to say the part where like Peter comes up to her as like the police is escorting her and her mom away from the school, she was way too nice to him. Like, you dumped her at prom, and then your dad is going to prison. You really think someone whose dad is now going to prison, you have to move your entire life, and this guy dumps you at prom all in the same night? You think you're gonna just like be like, I don't know, I hope that whatever you're going through, you figure it out, Peter. Like, what? Really? If we're talking about, kids being immature and not very wise in general, like for high schoolers, there's no way that girl was that composed and understanding. I'm sorry.
Well, she did seem a bit more on the mature side, and she was a senior, so she is older than all of them. So it's not like it's
I don't like even if it was like a senior and she was like, I can't even. It doesn't feel like a normal person in any time of their life, I think, would be as like quick to understand the other person. I don't know. It just didn't feel like it fit to me.
Yeah, like I think like my problem with that was like how fast it was, because the final scene, like when Vulture gets captured and all that, it happened like shortly after prom, and then right after that, we get that scene where she has to leave, and it's like, holy, like, shouldn't she be like a little bit more angry, a little bit more, because she did get like stood up at prom, but I don't think that was okay.
Come on,
I'm kind of like talking out of my ass right now, but we didn't really get that anger. That's kind of like the missing emotion in that scene. It was just like, all right, I gotta just tell the things and kind of resolve my character arc.
Especially since like Peter has had a track record of kind of not being the best for her, right? Like he totally ditched the decathlon.
Oh yeah, the ramifications for that were just kind of.
And then I didn't like that. Didn't make sense to me that she was she was totally going to date him after he ditched that too. Like it just those things. Her character didn't add up to me for the stuff that like she was being put through from Peter.
Yeah, she honestly felt more like a plot device rather than a character, and usually I feel like a lot of superhero movies especially are trying to move away from like the damsel in distress kind of characters. I mean, she wasn't really a damsel in distress. I mean, she was in that elevator that one time, but that wasn't really a damsel in distress situation. She just happened to be last, but it's just she had no real character. She was just like the pretty girl that he had a crush on. Like, pretty is not a solid enough characteristic, and the girl he had a crush on is more of like a plot point.
Especially with the whole twist. Especially with the twist.
How'd you feel about Liz, Jordan, before we move on to, I think we're gonna go to Vulture, maybe?
The true girl I would have wanted to pair up with, Karen, clearly.
Honestly, Karen is the one true waifu for sure.
Of this movie, yeah. Confirmed 100%.
She's great. I love when she's like her like everything she said was really just gold.
Like my favorite part is she's giving him dating advice. It's like, kiss her. It's like, what? AI, I didn't expect this from you.
This is your chance. Oh, he lost it.
Oh yeah. No, I think that was a great like when she was involved, the AI, she was able to kind of like let Peter have someone to like bounce off of that wasn't the sidekick friend character. Nate.
Yeah.
Nate.
So that made it good because like she just kind of was this,
like
why
fun
don't you...
little partner.
I thought honestly for a second I thought we were talking about the other side girl in class.
Oh, I don't care
the one
about her
that Zendaya plays.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she was just like a comic relief character. She didn't really
she wasn't in
to...
much, but like every scene she was in, every line she said was pretty funny. Like one shot.
It was all right. Like
it depends on who you are, because all of her stuff, I'm just like, this is trying way too hard, and I don't like her at all.
I didn't think that.
Like at times for me, she did feel like she tried a bit too hard, but they were small, so it didn't really faze me. And what she did do was like prevent the scene from stalling out, getting too boring.
The detention.
So she did kind of like
the detention thing was like too far, in my opinion. Like, who really goes and sits in detention and like draws people who are like? It was funny, but like I don't actually think that would be that would happen. Like, that's kind of creepy. But
like her actual character just feels a bit too fake. I mean, it's just way too exaggerated.
Maybe that was the point. I mean, she's kind of like, Hey Arnold's, like, I don't remember the girl, but she was always, like, a jerk to Arnold, but secretly she loved him. Maybe this is you're going to kind of roll into the next movie.
Yeah, but this one isn't that tsundere. She's just, like, I don't know. She looked like a zombie, so I'm just gonna go with
she's
that.
she's like, where are you going? What are you hiding? Nah, I don't really care.
It's like, okay, then just shut up. If you're
Like,
gonna be
yeah,
relevant in the
why'd
next
you,
movie, I'll
why'd
take you
you
then.
play the scene? I don't care about you. Get out of here. I want to see. Oh, actually, random thing. I did like the scene where the kid just walks to the bathroom, just washes his hand while Happy's just like, give him the thing.
Yo, the chess kid?
The chess kid, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like the sudden cameo that you never saw coming.
He's just like, why are you... He's just like, yeah, like, especially, even when he was doing chess, and he's like, what are you doing?
And then he just looks at freaking Happy, who's just this random guy in a suit waiting in the bathroom. He's like,
Yeah.
what is it? Whatever, I'm just going to wash my hand. I'm just going to walk away.
Yeah, that was actually a pretty hilarious scene. I don't know why. Like, you could kind of see it coming, but it's just the way they did it in the actual movie just felt like it worked.
Mm-hmm.
I was honestly expecting Tony to come out of there, but...
Yeah, honestly, that would have been hilarious, but that's a bit much. Yeah, honestly, in her character twist at the end, her being MJ at the end, I felt like, honestly, I get, I understand her not being like white or being redheaded. I mean, she doesn't need to be, but like her character is also completely different. I feel like
she's not
there's
MJ. That's not. There's nothing to connect her to that character.
Yeah, there's honestly no reason to keep the name.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they want to have that be like the one true pairing kind of thing, and honestly, it's whatever. But I feel like if they're gonna just have that whole approach with it, just have another name. Like Mary Jane doesn't have to be or she's not Mary Jane in this universe, but MJ doesn't need to be the love interest for Peter Parker all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that. Like sometimes it was Gwen Stacy. Sometimes, I mean, you can just have a new character. That would have been fine. You don't really have to give her like the name of a character who's completely unrelated, and just it just felt a bit
sort
off.
of like what they did with Doomsday in or was it Doomsday?
Doomsday?
Whatever in like Batman vs Superman, right? They like
the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle that just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, like,
let's not talk about
they
that.
just gave him a
oh right,
yeah.
dude!
They gave him
forgot that he existed.
They gave him an established character's name, and he was just like this freaking nasty zombie amalgamation from Zod. That was literally all he was, and so he represented the character in no other way than just the name.
I don't know. He was somewhat related to it, but it's whatever. It's just for this one, I'm a bit more attached because, come on, we've had multiple MJs.
Yeah.
I just whatever. It's a minor gripe. Honestly, it's not going to kill the character or anything. I just feel like if you just took that character out of this movie completely, I would still have the same opinions of it.
Yeah, that's true. She didn't.
It would be just as good.
She was just like she added a few funny things, but that's about it. What about Flash? What do you think about his character? Because I remember you mentioning him when we got out of the movie and not being as pleased either.
Oh, well, him being Indian was kind of like random, but he did pull off the asshole really well. It's just that he does not look like a Flash Gordon, and that's not like same thing with like MJ. It's not something that's mandatory, but he doesn't feel like that giant bully threat.
No,
he just seems like a small, guy that just ends up being an asshole. And I'm like, it looks like Peter can beat this dude up. I don't think like.
Is he also supposed to be like intelligent and in the decathlon thing as well? Like that doesn't.
He's intelligent enough to be part of the team as an alternative last resort. Like he's probably like, I don't know, he'd be like a B/C student in AP subjects.
Actually, no, like he's still in the decathlon, so he's still smart, and I feel like that's fine. He doesn't have to be like a jock. It just I don't feel like there's justification for him being an asshole to Peter because he doesn't look that threatening, to be honest.
Well, that's why he needs to be a jock. That's the thing. That's why it would have been. I mean, I guess like keeping him part of the group made it so that he could be more of a jerk in more of the scenes because that way he'd be going with them places. So I guess that's probably why it ended up going that way. Because if he was just a jock, you'd only see him in the beginning scenes, and then everything else with the decathlon and him hanging out with all the other people would have been, he wouldn't have been there, and it wouldn't have, he wouldn't have been that antagonist that just kept reminding Peter, oh, look at what you could have had, in a sense. And I don't understand, like, he's also the DJ, like, so he's the bully, he's the DJ, he's also part of the decathlon, he's also rich, like, he had a lot of different things that I don't know if they all added up to me.
He was trying to fulfill all the roles of a bully, but while still being one person. Trying to be the rich bully, trying to be the hit bully, trying to be the smart bully.
Yeah, honestly, he did pull like that kind of antagonistic role, but I feel like there's no ramifications for him being an asshole. Like, what did his name calling really do? They all called him Penis Parker at a party. And honestly, like, after that, it had no effect on him. I guess, same thing with this guy. We could just take him out of the movie, and it would have been the same.
Well, no, it's because, like, he was the reason that Peter was more conflicted about using his... showing Spider-Man off and saying that he was his friend. That kind of thing where he would have had to disobey Stark or reveal his secret identity. That was part of why he was necessary for those moments where it was like, oh, I'm going to rub it in your face now so that you're actually tempted and you feel conflicted about, doing the right thing.
Yeah, I guess you got a point.
But I don't know. Could have worked out better, but I guess I understand why they put him in so many different roles like that, just so that they could sprinkle him throughout the movie, and he'd still be, like, throughout the scenes to follow the narrative, right?
Yeah.
So...
And towards the end, when Peter jacks his car and just wrecks it, it was very satisfying because he was such a good asshole in the rest of the film that I felt good when that car got trashed because he deserved it. Mm-hmm. So for that, like, despite like my gripes about like how nerdy he looks compared to Peter, like he looks nerdier than Peter, which is like, a bit, yeah, which did throw me off a little bit. Just like, wait, why is he the bully? But I mean, he did pull off what Flash Gordon needed to be in this movie, so it's fine. Yeah.
Where does that leave us?
I get there's zombie chick who we're not going to cover because I don't care. But
we already kind of talked.
We already did.
Yeah, there we go. Touched on her in like 3 sentences. Yeah.
The villain, dude.
Yeah.
The Vulture.
No. I feel like there's a minor character we're forgetting.
Happy.
Happy a bit. Yeah.
Well, Happy wasn't too relevant.
No.
Hey,
he
man.
just did happy things.
He has heart
okay, he
conditions.
didn't do happy things.
He did very stressed out and unhappy things.
Pretty much.
Gosh, I feel like we're
Aunt
forgetting
May?
someone. No.
I thought we talked about her a little.
She doesn't really have.
Before we start recording.
Oh yeah, we.
Honestly, she was hot. I will say that.
Okay, wow. Gee.
I don't know, because whatever. Let's not go into that.
Yeah, she wasn't really involved. I guess. I mean, I suppose we could talk about the random Lukes. Oh, actually, no, crud. That's actually what I wanted to talk about. His freaking tech guy. Random guy who I feel like is just just curious guys. It's like, oh yeah, I can work with alien tech. Yeah. Don't get myself killed or anything. Like, okay. A little bit hard to believe, but you know what? I'll let it slide because it's comics. Because this guy's like, I'm going to make literally a gravity gun from Half-Life out of some random alien tech. I'm like, oh, okay, sure.
I think they did have like tractor beams on those ships. I'm assuming.
I assumed so too, but it's just still, it's just like, man, this guy knows how to mess around with stuff.
Yeah, like his engineering skills were a bit on the bullshit side, but since he did work for, a company that did kind of involve, construction and all that stuff, he's probably a decent enough engineer, so I'm gonna let it slide. Like, it's bullshit, but it's not like too far off the deep end. It's not like he's a 5-year-old who just, became a genius. He's smart enough that it's a bit more believable.
I mean, it felt like I was watching some video on Facebook where some guys would just tear stuff apart and makeshift make things with engines and stuff, just to and you're kind of, the video's purpose is to wow, these guys actually made something impressive, and they look like they're just from the outback, or they're just Hicks or something. I don't know. Honestly, it felt like, oh, we found something that goes boom and explodes. Let's just tinker with it now, because we like taking stuff apart and figuring out what it does. I can't. That's what it felt like to me. I don't know if that's a plus or a minus, but I didn't have a problem with it in the end.
Yeah. And I think the other two goons are probably the two shockers, which, shockingly enough, weren't too impactful.
No.
I don't understand. I mean, I guess I do understand, because they didn't want to have it be that kind of fight, but they had disintegration rays. Why did that guy choose to use the punching thing instead of the disintegration blast?
Pretty sure he doesn't want to use something that could cause horrible amounts of death and collateral damage.
Yeah, considering when Vulture got disarmed in the cruise scene, not cruise, but boat scene.
Yeah.
It did fire all over the place, so they are pretty unstable. And yeah,
I hated those weapons were just jank. We talked about this earlier, but that was something that I had a problem with, was that when these unstable weapons or alien power sources were radiated or went out of control, they never hit another human being. They were going crazy and shooting all directions. But even in the elevator, when that one went out of control, instead of killing everyone around him, it decided to take one of the only two paths it probably could have that wouldn't have killed anybody, and just shoot straight up into the air and destroy the top of the elevator shaft. That took me out of continuity, because it was just, really, how does that work? Why? The amount of luck that was going on, if this were the case, is just, it was too ridiculous.
Yeah, they try to keep it pretty kid friendly, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And the lasers were way too safe.
They were very, very, very convenient in some of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and let's talk about that elevator scene, because
the
hype building up to it, I actually did enjoy. It's oh shoot, he does have a bomb, and he just went through security, which triggered the radiation.
Yeah.
How he's gonna get up there? He has a time limit. What he's gonna do? And the thing detonates and just misses everyone, and just hits the elevator. There's destruction on the elevator components, but not on them. And if it's a radioactive thing, it should be emanating in a sphere. And no, it's shot in lasers that.
Yeah, it just bothered me a lot. I feel like it could have been handled in a different way. I also really loved the build up to that, where he was running out of time and he was getting exhausted going up the wall, and even the part where he had to try and get through the window was pretty intense. But the laser thing missing people and just happens to go straight up. And even with the freaking like ship, like of course the ship or of course the laser from that weapon slices a perfect like complete cut all the way down the middle of that ship and misses everyone. Like one slice through the entire ship. Every level. Everyone's fine.
Yeah,
all good.
it's like the same thing with the last one. Just like the second that happens, it just got rid of all the stakes.
Yeah,
like
not to
no one's in
mention-
danger anymore.
Yeah, not to mention
Like the
how,
second that
like-
happens,
Not to mention how even before it sliced that massive one, it was like going haywire and shooting in multiple directions, and you saw people running, and it almost hit people, but it didn't.
yeah, and with that scene in particular, the shots that the gun was firing were pretty weak, and then randomly it just becomes a giant friggin' laser that cuts through the entire ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like you should have a build-up to make a cut through the entire ship feel more natural and kind of like more, oh shit, it cut through the entire thing, and not just like, what the hell, why did it cut through the entire
It was
ship?
literally
you know?
just done to have that money shot of him like trying to keep it together with his body. Like that was literally all that was for, and it just it bothers me. Maybe a lot of moviegoers probably didn't care one way or another. It's still a superhero movie. You kind of like have to take some kind of liberties of just not caring if they pull some stuff. But I don't know. I feel like this was one of the sloppiest times we've had to see something like this in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Next to when, Captain America is running towards enemies with automatic rifles and they only aim at the top of his shield instead of at his legs. Like that always bothers me too, but this probably is worse in my opinion.
Well, he is slightly faster than a normal human, so it probably throws off their aim, so I'm not too concerned about that. But for this one, it's like, come on. don't give us like this giant ass scene like you're trying to one up the other Spider-Man films. Like, look at this dude, he's holding the entire ship together, look how awesome that is. It's like, yeah, that would have been awesome if it actually mattered.
Yeah.
It's just like now he's just posing for a trailer in this.
Yeah.
I just didn't care. And then when Iron Man came and actually kind of yelled at Peter for his mistakes, then it actually gave meaning to that whole scene. But like when I was watching that scene, even though it was like so big and action packed, so to speak, I didn't feel anything from it. It just felt kind of
I felt something. I was like, oh, really? That laser is just conveniently cutting through this and missing everyone. Really? Okay.
Yeah, like the main
That's how
thing I was like in the middle section of the boat where it missed completely everyone, I'm like, I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, normally people aren't seated in that part of the ferry, but it's the way like it was just firing randomly all over the place and just happens to miss everyone. It was just way too convenient.
I think
too
that the
bullshitty.
reason why they had to make sure, I mean, obviously it was because it was so that Tony could say, what if someone had died? It would have changed the entire narrative of this conversation,
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that they had to have happen, where it was like there was a chance that people died, but they just like luck had it that they didn't. I think that they kind of pushed the envelope way too far with like this. It would like suddenly everyone just it was way too unlikely that no one would have been severely injured or killed from all that. But yeah, they needed to have that moment for Stark to say that, but like it still bothers me. I think it could have been handled a little bit better, but they wanted that money shot, and what can you do?
Yeah,
about it?
if they had a reason, if they had a more realistic laser that cut through the ship, and a reason for it not hitting the people, that's all we need. Just two things.
Yep.
Like maybe it tipped over and everyone was like on one side, or maybe they were told to like sit down, and like all in those ferries there's really like no seats in the middle, so that would have been all we really needed or something. or maybe they would like in life both or something, you know?
Yeah. It's like
Alright.
it's like the same reason why Flash seemed to be the way he was specifically just so that he could follow with the story and be in it more. It just another element of the story that just kind of like had to be one way just for the convenience of what they wanted to accomplish a certain thing. But yeah, we can move on.
Yeah.
All right. Are we gonna like? You want to talk about the Vulture, or do you want to talk about just like the final scene and then maybe go back on the Vulture?
I think we can talk about the final scene because the Vulture story is pretty short,
Well,
to be honest.
we got to talk about the plot twist first, right? Like,
I guess, but
Yeah.
well,
I guess
okay, it's different. It's different for me. Anyways, go.
I mean, major.
Yeah, I guess we'll keep the finale for last.
Yeah, major
Just, like, talk
spoilers,
about
right?
the-
Like, as if the rest of this wasn't spoilers enough. Like, major spoilers. Plot twist, like, the love interest's father is the Vulture. There you go.
Yeah.
It's...
Yo.
That
Here's-
threw me.
It was actually set up for me at least because when the Vulture's just like, I gotta provide for my family, and he's just like, and then we go to the house and it's really nice. I'm just like, and then we get to the father scene. I'm just like, wait a minute, oh.
I'm glad that you were
'Cause-
acute enough to catch all that, or like
No,
put it
because like
together.
here, like one of the, like, gosh, I'm trying to think. There was another hint that I could have sworn was in the movie. Like there was something. There might like it may have been in the corner of my eye, but I could have sworn there was another hint in like the party scene that alluded to the fact that he was the father. But
I don't know, maybe like an expensive vase or something.
well,
Yeah.
maybe,
That's
maybe
about
there was
it.
maybe his freaking jacket was just hanging on a hanger somewhere and we just missed it.
That
I
was
just like,
hilarious.
here's your super duper oven. Anyways, sorry.
No,
No, I'm
I
pretty sure
didn't-
he was wearing it though because he
Yeah.
did chase after Peter.
I didn't see it coming at all. I didn't see it coming. I'm sorry, like at all. It was wonderfully orchestrated for me. Like that caught me, and then I was just like stunned for a moment, just linking everything together and the ramifications of what now was about to happen. Like it's like, oh, this is gonna suck for Peter.
Yeah.
And
It's
like,
kind of funny for me though. Like when he kind of like opened the door, I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh shoot, these interracial marriages are just they got me this time. I did not expect it."
yeah, the whole
Okay.
I loved Peter the whole way through that. He was just like, you know, his face the whole
The entire car ride was just
the car,
Peter's just like, oh, yeah, definitely,
the
yes.
car ride was masterful, and like with the tension in the music building, it was just like, dang, I felt that.
Yeah, and then Liz being all like, I remember all the situations where Spider-Man was and how you were like conveniently absent during
Yeah.
all these times, and he's like, "Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up."
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't say that, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh man.
Yeah,
Yeah, kudos to Tom Holland for like that entire sequence of events because that was so nerve
that was
wracking.
so good. That was so
Good.
good. I like that's like if anything in the movie made this like movie just worth going to watch. That the way that how uncomfortable I felt during that scene, like
That was a good uncomfortable too.
yeah, it was. It was. I was just like, man, they got me. Got me good.
Yeah. And it was a really good scene for the Vulture as well because
Yep.
you know he did establish very early on that like he was just doing that all this to protect his livelihood.
Yep.
And Spider-Man did save his daughter at one point, like during the elevator scene. And
Yeah.
he's like, you know what? If you just stay out of my business and you just walk through those doors, I'll just,
Yeah.
that'll be it. That'll be it. And he has like the gun in his hand the entire
Oh,
time.
that was scary.
I was like,
That was scary.
Just walk out. You'll be free. You'll live.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And even when faced with that, I'm just like, you know what?
I'm a hero.
You just couldn't. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
That was real painful too, because I mean, he did have what he wanted all this time right in front of him. He's just like, no, I can't.
Mm-hmm.
Despite how painful it was. Whew. And then that led us to our finale, which was a bit of stupid.
Okay, it was weird.
Can we talk about how it led into being connected to Happy? Because when Peter Parker was in the car and he was like putting two and two together, he's like, why? He said he was going out of state. Why would he stick around here? And then he put it together that, oh snap, it's because Happy's moving the last of the important stuff from the Stark Tower. That went by so fast that I was like, whoa, how did you put two and two together on this? That was just like, I don't know, for me, that threw me for a second. I was like, how did you just suddenly come to that conclusion, like, so fast? I'm like, still, probably laughing from the scene before it where he just ripped the car away from the bullies, like, hands, and it's just, okay, that just dialogue got us to where we need to be super fast.
Yeah, I feel like that was more of a plot reminder. It's like, hey, remember, this guy is moving stuff, right?
I liked the connection, but I felt like they were just like, this, here we go.
Yeah, honestly, I disliked the whole premise of the finale because, all right, so they're moving the last precious bits from the Avengers Tower, a giant-ass airplane that everyone in New York can see.
No, remember, it was invisible.
Right, yeah.
It wasn't cloaking until they set it off, right?
Yeah, but they set it up pretty early, so people wouldn't be able to track it very easily after that point. Because no one knows where it's heading is the main point. So they all know where it's taking off from, but they can't really track it to try and intercept it when it lands.
I mean, what would normally be safer, like transporting that stuff by ground? I don't think so, because all of the, like, normal thugs are going to have ground, vehicles, cars and stuff. What were the chances that we had this, supervillain just lurking in the air? I think it was just the safer bet for them to be like, oh yeah, we'll transport it by invisible plane. Like,
yeah, that's unarmed and not protected by anything, even though it has like multiple Iron Man suits.
Yeah, that part. Okay, I agree. It should have had like an escort as well.
They should have just had a bunch of automated Iron Man suits. Gotta be honest, because he can already do that.
Yeah, like when I saw that one Iron Man suit in the plane, I thought it would just like activate and just go after him.
I want to just activate, punch him, and then just go back in the freaking case. It's like, well, closing back up. Job's done.
Yeah, like it felt like way too plot convenient, which seems to be a very common theme for this movie. But moving on to like the action sequences, I remember like being super salty about this after the movie, but it was very sloppy. Like
here's the problem that I saw with it. There was more time spent focused on Vulture beating up a plane rather than Vulture fighting Spider-Man.
Yeah, like there was like little to no interaction between the two, mostly because it would just be Spider-Man webbing him and then him flying off.
They were both fighting the wind. Like, they were going so fast.
And I think something happened with like the turbine on the airplane, which I couldn't really tell was happening because everything was moving too fast.
Yeah. Oh, well,
not
here's what happened with turbines. Basically, Vulture's tearing up the plane and the shrapnel's going into the turbines and destroying them, so the plane's slowly losing turbines.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, didn't they almost get like sucked into it or something?
Yeah, Peter almost got sucked into it because he didn't get his grip secured quickly enough, and then boom.
There were a couple of times when he almost got sucked in.
Yeah. But like, even without that scene, just him just gashing up the plane, like that's great and all, but we know you're not gonna like hit him So what's the
deal here?
yeah, and like we can barely see it.
I
So they're just
personally
like
I personally enjoyed the fight when they were already on the beach after the crash more, because that was when like Vulture was actually like tearing into him.
Destroying him.
Yeah.
yeah, like actually like fighting him, and
Mhm.
like those wings just look super badass.
Yeah.
That moment.
I guess you know the ending money scene they have to have was the plane fight in the air, but it wasn't the worst thing I've seen in a superhero movie. It was a middle ground for me. Like I still was able to enjoy it. It like you said, it was a little sloppy, but I've seen some pretty just garbage, you know, hero movie related ending scenes that I like. Even now, I still am really not liking Superwoman's or not Superwoman, Wonder Woman's. Wonder Woman's ending like stuff was not my favorite, you know, ending fight thing, and also Batman versus Superman, obvious choice, right? But this one was like a okay, it was decent enough. It was passable for me. I was
Yeah,
it didn't take me out of it, and I was like, ugh, I hated that.
yeah, but like if the action scenes that came before it kind of looked and felt better, then you kind of have an issue within the movie. So
Yeah.
that's kind of just like,
Like,
oh, this is the note we're ending on. And then once they crash the plane on the beach and like the whole beach is on fire and we see like Vulture kind of like flying around there, it looked kind of badass. It kind of reminded me of like the first Spider-Man movie
Yeah.
where they end up in the graveyard and it's kind of like that final
Mm-hmm.
battleground, except this one was kind of lame. You know, it wasn't as intense, it wasn't as like gritty. It was
Yeah.
just like him being a bird, and then he was like, "I got my stuff," and he's trying to fly away, super slow, and then just boop, and then he falls down. It's like okay,
So,
yeah.
well, like, okay, so that's enough about the Vulture himself. Now we can just talk about one aspect that I'd like to point out: costume design for both Vulture and Spider-Man. Pretty good.
That
Pretty dang
jacket
good.
Vulture had was just spot on. Like
Yeah, it was perfect for the.
it was
freaking
reminiscent
wings.
of like the old Vulture suit, and it was like modernized, and it actually looked really cool.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then Spidey's little Spidey's suit, pretty classic. But the fact that it also had a freaking little drone integrated into it, that was just like, oh, this is a really nice touch.
Yeah, it was like super modernized, and we did get a peek at like the Ultimate Spider-Man suit,
Yeah,
which was
The
It-
Avenger Spider-Man.
It definitely gave a fresh take for Spider-Man, because what have we've already seen all of Spider-Man's powers in the first trilogy and the second, what almost was a trilogy, and like this gave it something new and fresh. It's like, oh cool, now we have an AI in the suit, and it's got different like things, the different web shooting stuff.
Would you like to choose one of the 526 options for web shooting? Just pick one for.
Yeah. And then, like you said, the drone, and then there's like even the
Pairs.
listening in on other people, and yeah,
Oh,
the
instant kill mode.
man. We
Oh, I want to see it. I want to see it. They
Yeah, we-
teased it.
Yeah.
we didn't really. Yeah, we got 2 instances of like that turning on, but we didn't really get to see it in action, which was kind of
Yeah.
disheartening. But I honestly forgot about it at the end, so
Yep.
it's not like that
Yep.
big of a deal, I guess.
I want to see it though still
It was
because
more
the
of
whole.
just a gag for me that I laughed at, honestly.
Yeah, and like the ways the eyes kind of just like turn to red lasers look pretty cool. Like I kind of wanted to stare down with that mode in Vulture because he has like the green eyes. Look look kind of funny. But like I think we have probably one more character to talk about probably one of my favorites from this movie. The captain himself.
The captain.
with with those cheesy ass videos. Oh my gosh.
That was wonderful. That was wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the you may think you're cool, but I've been frozen in ice. Like for the
Oh my
that was
gosh.
the worst, but in the best
Oh
way.
my gosh.
That was,
Oh,
Yeah, those-
no. Okay, no, the worst, the absolute worst was a freaking second ending credit scene.
yes, super crazy spoiler alerts for the ending credit scene. If you don't want to know,
Probably super duper.
Watch it. It's
don't-
worth it.
It's worth it. Yeah.
Okay, fine, but it's Captain America related, and it's fucking wow.
It was probably one of the most irritating yet satisfying post-credit scenes I've watched in a while
Yeah.
for this entire thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the first one? I can't remember the first one.
I think it was like probably not PE, but it's something like related to it. I think it was probably the PE one, right?
What?
I don't think it was the PE one, because the PE one was the one they showed in the action movie, right?
What
No,
was, no.
it was
The first end credit scene was Vulture in jail.
Yeah, there we go.
Mm-hmm. But
Where he's like, I'm not going to reveal Peter's secret identity, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a post-credit scene. I thought it was just like at the end of the movie.
that was a post
I
credit scene,
think,
buddy.
I'm pretty sure that was post-credit scene.
Or should we say mid credit scene, because they call them that now. It's like
Post-credits, okay, mid-credit scene, and then the post-credit scene.
yeah.
But yeah, the mid-credit scene was, yeah, Vulture's pretty neat guy.
Yeah,
Glad he somehow survived that gem explosion, just like everyone else in the movie when those things exploded. You know.
yeah.
No real injuries at all. Just he fell. That's all.
Yep, on the sand, so he's fine. Also, Peter piloting that plane throughout the city, that was lucky.
Lucky. But final thoughts on the movie, you guys?
Pretty dang solid movie. Come for Spider-Man. If you want, come for a good Spider-Man. That's what it's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would actually say it's probably the best Peter Parker we've had in all the recent Spider-Man movies. But it's a good Spider-Man movie, but it didn't really go like.
It's not the best superhero movie we've seen. It's a decent one, but I don't know where I'd put it in relation to the other ones, but
Yeah, it didn't go
it's
like
on
over the
it's on the lower end of the like intro movies, I'd say.
Yeah, like it did have like a more deeper character development arc, but it wasn't like as flashy. It didn't really have the whole. And it also did feel a bit like it had plot crutches on it.
Yeah.
It didn't really like flow as smoothly. You know where they had to put in like some characters to do this or that, stuff like that. It's just. It did have some good.
I still think it's better than anything Sony was about to make.
Sony?
Yeah, like
Sony did make this one.
Sony on its own, though. Sony made
did
this.
Sony have
Sony
Spider-Man
made this, but Sony is the one who has made the Spider-Man movies up till this point.
Huh.
They collaborated with Marvel Studios on this one.
And by collaborate, I think you mean Marvel's going to take the Spider-Man license eventually.
I mean, there's no way that Sony's going to let it go that easily, but I believe that Marvel took the direction for this movie. They took the reins on the direction of this movie. It's very obvious. This felt like a Marvel movie. It did not feel like The Amazing Spider-Man at all. It didn't feel like the original Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire at all. It just felt like a Marvel movie. And it's that same Marvel stuff we have come to love. And I am going to eat it up. For me, this movie didn't have to be, and I wasn't expecting it to be the Avengers, where it was going to be that level of hype. But at the same time, it was like, all right, I'm ready for a better take on Spider-Man than The Amazing Spider-Man. Personally, I didn't like those movies. I didn't like the portrayal. And even though this is a weird, like, way to fit Spider-Man into something, they made it work. You know, it's normally you have more focus on Uncle Ben for his character motivation. Normally, you don't have a best friend character who, like, kind of finds out about your identity. You don't have a young Aunt May who's, like, kind of a sex appeal. Like, there's... I mean, like, normally you don't have Tony Stark being the mentor figure. Like, this is a Spider-Man that it still retained a lot of what makes Spider-Man Spider-Man, but it also has a lot of different elements that aren't normally his origin type stuff that they put in, and they made it work.
Yeah, so it was a very refreshing take on the franchise, which has been beaten to death.
I quite enjoyed this movie. I was very excited after I came out of the theater. Like, I really, like, recommended highly anyone go see it in theaters. Like, it's great.
Yeah,
that's mine.
Yeah. It's well worth the watch, but I'm gonna throw my salt in. Sorry. All the action scenes were pretty lackluster in comparison to. Okay, The Amazing Spider-Man did have some pretty low-ass lows. So I'm going to say for the original trilogy, which did have probably, like, more intense and more, like,
meaningful.
It had more higher, meaningful stakes.
We didn't feel that as much during the scene with the boat, because it didn't feel like anyone was in danger with the way nothing ever hit anybody. There's so much, like, random shrapnel lasers going around and nobody got injured. It just kind of took us out of it for a bit. But,
yeah, but, like, the Peter Parker and the Spider-Man we got out of it, I feel like we're good enough to, you know, offset those. So I would still recommend people to watch this movie.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that wraps up this review. So make sure to look down in our description, click all of or check out all of our social media links down below, and make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Also, forgot to mention again, Discord chat. Click that. We'll be chatting it up, maybe.
Possibly.
Yeah. So that wraps it up for us. Bye.
Yep. See you.